Today I'm going to break down the split squat and a sequence that I've been using to help to open up the hip flexor. When I first started doing the split squat, I had pretty bad knee pain. So I couldn't do it on the floor like this. It was too painful to move through that range of motion. So I elevated the front foot. This is a 10-inch box. So I was using this initially. And then as I progressed and started to feel better in the knees, I was moving it down to maybe half the height and then eventually onto the floor. So if that's you and you're feeling quite sore through the knees, elevate it and see how that feels. So breaking down the split squat first, we're going to have the hips facing forward and we're going to find our balance first and we're going to lean into it and we're going to try to cover the calf with the hamstring on the ball of the foot, making sure that the hip stays square at the back, torso is nice and upright. So from here, press down. And we want to try to get the knee as far forward as possible. You might need to play around with the distance between the front and the back leg. So if you're too short, you might go too far and not get a stretch through that back hip flexor. If your stance is too long, you won't get far enough forward and you'll be in like a long lunge position. So play around with the distance that suits you. The more you practice this, the more you understand where you need to be exactly to find that deep stretch in the hip flexor at the back leg, and then also getting that knee as far forward as possible. So the split squat, just moving through that range, just like this, and then back up, driving with the quad at the front, keeping that back leg nice and straight. As I move down into it, I put my weight into the front leg, but I also think about pushing the heel backwards, tensing my quad or contracting my quad to try to lengthen that hip flexor. So for me, the main reason I use this is to lengthen the hip flexor and to build strength in the quads as well. So all the way down here, keeping that torso nice and upright, not leaning too far forward and not overextending as well. Once you can develop it to a level on the floor and it feels pretty comfortable, the next progression that I'll get you to do, or that I started on, is using some weight, starting nice and light. You can hold the weight in all different positions, overhead, you can hold dumbbells, kettlebells, whatever you want. I like the dumbbells, it's quite easy to hold in this position. Just relax the arms, and I'll just show you this here. This is 4 kilos on each arm. From here, again, same sequence, coming all the way down, trying to lengthen that back leg. You can always just check in with it because it'll just want to bend. Once you reach your end range, you drive back up. All right, so that's a split squat. The sequence that I've been using is 10 reps. I'll just show you that now. So 10 reps of the split squat, moving in and out of that range. And then on the last rep, you're going to come down and you're going to hold this end position, this active long lunge position, trying to keep the torso upright and just using the weight and just dropping all the weight down into that hip flexor. And again, trying to lengthen that leg. You'll want to bend, lengthen it, spend some time here, maybe 10 seconds or so. And then from here, once I'm finished, I bring the knee down. I'm moving this into a passive stretch now. So the back knee comes down, I untuck my toes at the back, and I stay in that same position, really driving forward with that knee, again trying to cover up that calf with the hamstring, and then opening this hip and allowing all of the weight to drop into that hip. So big breath in, drop down, and I spend about 30 seconds to a minute in this position. And you can see here, it's just creating this big length through that hip flexor. So it's a good way to incorporate some mobility and passive stretching into your active and dynamic split squats. So use that sequence, make sure you do both sides as well.